Hello colleagues, in this video we're going to look into my two biology courses at all the different kinds of discussions we have, and these are master courses and recently developed in the last year. So all classes have some kind of open discussion forums at the top. What I want to point to here is that in botany, we share our data in this top discussion that always stays here. We don't have lab discussions, and that works pretty well because it aggregates everything into one discussion and it's right at the top. No one can miss it. No grades associated with it, however, so that makes it hard to force compliance to share data, especially with the first few labs. Once everyone gets their feet under them, it gets better. So I'm going to scroll down here to the discussion that closed because it was open for a while. So in botany, we have two different kinds of discussions. The collaborative study is basically a wiki building exercise. We look at the learning outcomes directly, no specific prompt, just right at the outcomes. And then the students write an outline for that. And I tell them to be very specific, not general. And then they build on this together. And so in the end, we've built a study guide, and it really gives students authorship, and it makes it so much more interesting for me because every student is posting different topics, which is evidenced by these titles here. And so we can really cover a lot of the content. I really like this. And then towards the end of the discussion, I can kind of look at it and see if any learning outcomes have been missed, and then I fill in those details. And so we have wiki discussions, and then or collaborative study. And then we also have a more directed discussion in the module that has to do with the specific topic we're covering. And these are for 1 week. Now, these are also double as opportunities for students to do work for their final research project, which is one of the assessments in the class. So for example, if they've chosen a plant, they can talk about the reproductive pathway of the plant that they're writing about. So here is some guidance. You can see that explained, or they can write about any other plant, but this helps them to do research while they're in discussion, increases the motivation for it. Let me show you some of the other ones. So another 1 weeker here is peer-reviewed literature. So they can do some work for their final research project and get some formative help and guidance from their peers and from me before they go to submit their, annotated bibliography or outline for the paper. Now let's go over to my Bio 112 class. This is Organismic Biology, second semester, 4 majors. Now this was recently designed by Loomis, so it's very different, but I'm pretty happy with it. So we go here, and there are 2 discussions for every module. These just opened, that's why there's no communication there. Let's look in the one that just closed. So you can see here, this is probably more of a classic example of what you're looking at. There's very specific instructions. Read these 2 things, create the initial post that answers these questions, and then every student is answering the same questions. So with this, you really need to do work on diversifying that, and we'll talk about that in the re-engagement module. But this is working out very well. The second discussion in our Loomis course is just for labs, and it's very loose. It doesn't really have any instructions that are very specific. And this is a place where students can just tell me how they're feeling. They can ask questions. I'm really urging them to read the next lab after they complete one, so they can post their questions right away here and get a real group think going on the procedures for the lab and any issues that might arise. Other instructors, though, don't like this kind of thing because it can kind of turn into just a place where people whine. But that's where you shine and you really help them to understand why they're doing what they're doing by being encouraging and, uh, looking at their questions and finding the answers. So a lot of times students like to say, oh, I don't know where this information is, or it's so unclear. And their complaint is very general, and you can really direct that down into something specific to diffuse the emotional content. I am very happy with this lab discussion. I'm loving it. This is, it gets boring sometimes, but we need to work hard to diversify that. So those are my discussions in my two courses. I just thought I'd share that because I had the good fortune of being the subject matter expert for my botany course and then teaching a class that is taught with the Loomis design team. So different diversity. I hope that was a bit informative for you. Thanks.